familial hypercholesterolemia, or FH. My research paper is on familial hypercholesterolemia. It is an inherited condition characterized by high levels of blood cholesterol, and it is also called FH. So, what is cholesterol? It is a very important component of cell membranes. It is produced when food containing oils and fats are digested, and it can also be produced by the liver. There are two types of cholesterol. There is HDL and LDL. So HDL is the good cholesterol. It is a high density of lipoproteins. Lipoproteins keep cholesterol at normal levels. And LDL is the bad cholesterol. It is a low density of lipoproteins, which means that as there's not a lot of lipoproteins, the cholesterol is at high levels. As you can see, the HDL, which is the good cholesterol, is moving through the artery, while the bad cholesterol accumulates on the plaque, here on the artery. Cholesterol is delivered to cells via bloodstream. In normal cases, the particles of cholesterol with low density of lipoproteins, which is the bad cholesterol, attach to the receptor sites and then they're absorbed. However, a gene on the chromosome 19 called the LDR gene controls the production of these receptors. Indeed, there was a mutation of that LDR gene, and that changed the way receptors develop. FH is the result of that mutation. So, as the receptors either change in number or structure, they are not as efficient as the non-mutated ones. So, LDL cholesterol is not well regulated as it is not well absorbed into cells. So, the LDL cholesterol, which is the bad cholesterol, remains circulating in the blood. FH is inherited in families in an autosomal dominant manner, which means that it is not sex-linked, and if one of your parents has an affected gene, you have 50% chance to get it too. In that case, you are said to have heterozygous FH. And if both of your parents have a mutated copy causing FH, you have 100% chance to get it. In that case, you are said to have homozygous FH. Homozygous FH is a more rare and a more severe case of FH than heterozygous FH. The condition of homozygous FH is detectable at birth or shortly after. It has a frequency of 1 in a million. People suffering of that case of FH usually do not survive past their teenagers' years. So here you can see an example of FH family tree. A person in yellow represents someone who inherited FH, and a person in blue represents someone who doesn't have FH. So you can see that in that case, the male has FH and the female doesn't. They had 50% chance to pass their FH to their offsprings. They had 2 children, and both of them inherited FH. And here you can see that in that case, the male has FH and the female doesn't. They have 4 children, and 2 of them inherited FH. Did you know that FH causes up to 10% of early coronary disease, which is the heart disease that occurs before the age of 50 years? A coronary disease is a disease in which a waxy substance called plaque builds up inside the coronary arteries. The buildup of plaques occurs over many years. The plaque narrows the coronary arteries, and so it reduces the flow of oxygen blood to the heart. So here you can see that in the location of the heart, here is a normal coronary artery with a normal blood flow, and here you can see that there is an abnormal blood flow as the plaque is here, and it is reducing the amount of blood flow. So how to treat FH? Well, firstly, Even if one member of your family has FH, you need to get tested as soon as possible. Then, the first step is to change what you eat. Diet changes include reducing total fat intake to less than 30% of the calories you eat. So, for example, eat more veggies, fruits, and that kind of healthy food. Then medication. Some help lowering LDL cholesterol level, and some help raising the HDL cholesterol level. And if you have chest pain or other warning pains or signs of heart attacks, then seek immediately for medical care. FH occurs more frequently in populations of South Afrikaners, Dutch, French Canadians, and Lebanese. Why Lebanese people? In 1987, a nonsense mutation of the LDLR gene leading to a change of receptors was discovered in Lebanese families. A research showed that the Lebanese allele accounts to more than 45% of the homozygous FH patients in the world. Why the Dutch, South Afrikaners, and Canadians? Well, one mutation called V408M was identified in the Netherlands. Another Dutch settled to South Africa. A study showed that they introduced that mutation to the South Afrikaners, and then they also introduced this mutation through migration to Western Canada. So here is Quebec, so the Western Canada, so the French Canadians. Here is South Africa, Lebanon, and the Netherlands. So this image is showing the more frequent FH-affected populations. And so, we can say that exploring the genetics of a certain population also tells us about the history or geographic settlement of certain populations. As having FH is not a very disadvantageous trait in a way that the affected population does not suffer from less offspring, and as this mutation does not lead to different rates of reproduction. And finally, as there is a treatment for it now, this mutation is still inherited in South Africa, West Canada, Netherlands, and in Lebanon. Do you have any questions? Thank you very much for listening.